Venezuela, por la libertad.
Good evening. Thank you for watching our briefing in English. There are over 7 million Venezuelans in exile all around the world. There are over 1,000 Venezuelan residents today in Malta. We're going to meet a delegation that are here from Venezuela, and we're looking at the story of the political scene in Venezuela today. Marella Magallanes and Milagro Valero are elected members of the National Assembly in Venezuela, both living in exile. As the political situation in Venezuela deteriorates, the delegation visited Malta as part of a European tour to strengthen the support of a global political coalition to legitimize the National Assembly of Venezuela under the presidency of Juan Guaidó.
Porque somos los protagonistas de la liberación de Venezuela.
What is your position within the Venezuelan government?
Io sono deputata all'Assemblea Nazionale.
I am a deputy of the National Assembly in Venezuela and a legitimate representative of all Venezuelans, including those living in exile. I live in Italy and represent the interim government of President Juan Guaidó. I coordinate all the deputies in exile from Venezuela, and I'm active in the negotiation process for the National Salvation Agreement.
Comporta el Acuerdo Nazionale del Plan de Salvación Nacional.
Vamos juntos a luchar por un acuerdo de salvación nacional. Dios los bendiga.
La nostra ragione di essere qua in Malta è perché Malta è un paese che ha sopportato la lotta democratica dei venezuelani.
Malta has supported the struggle for democracy in Venezuela. We have included Malta as part of our European tour to raise awareness to the deterioration situation in Venezuela, with a view to finding a peaceful and democratic solution to recognize the legitimate presidency of Juan Guaidó.
Questi rapporti politici e istituzionali.
I have had this meeting with this delegation from Venezuela. I think that it is most important that Malta keeps on giving support to the members of parliament who are in exile and to different members of the Venezuelan political class who are in exile. It is a shame that Venezuela is in this state. It is going backwards, and economically it is in shambles, and it needs our support. So it was a pleasure to meet them and to give the support which is necessary from the part of our Nationalist Party.
Right now, there is in Malta a delegation of the deputies in exile. One of them is living in Italy, the other one is living in Spain. They are coming to Malta to catch up the government and all the personalities here about the next steps that we are following to reach the free and fair elections in Venezuela. They are part of the committee of delegation of this international coalition to reach this goal.
Tell me why you're in exile in Spain.
Al igual que casi 8 millones de venezolanos, yo me encuentro hoy exiliada en España. En el año 2018 salí perseguida por el régimen de Nicolás Maduro, por los grupos paramilitares, por la frontera de Colombia, junto con toda mi familia, mis hermanos, mis sobrinos, mi cuñada y mi madre. Y hoy somos residentes exiliados en España. El 40% del padrón electoral de Venezuela se encuentra fuera de nuestro país. Nosotros queremos que esa gente que está fuera pueda participar.
Quasi 6 milioni di venezuelani sono fuori dal nostro paese, tantissimi giovani e che comunque...
The majority of young people leave Venezuela to find freedom and make a life in another country. While this fight continues, they carry on supporting their families and relatives still living in Venezuela.
I've been in Malta since October of the last year. I've arrived, I've immigrated from Venezuela in 2018. I lived 2 years in Peru before coming. I did all the travel by bus. It was 5 days traveling to Peru. Then after 2 years I moved to Italy because all my family has left the country. And now I decided to come here to Malta to see new opportunities, because in my country there are not opportunities for people that want to grow, that want to be entrepreneur, to find more new opportunities. So that's the reason, the main reason that I'm here. And as a young person, it's difficult in Venezuela to make your own life because of the inflation, hyperinflation, the insecurity, and all those bad things.
Como bien, durante todos estos días que hemos estado en Malta, hemos conocido venezolanos que son profesionales, que son hombres y mujeres formados y preparados, que quieren también reconstruir nuestro país, que anhelan regresar y poder aportar todos sus conocimientos para el bienestar y el porvenir de Venezuela.
I came to Malta in 2014 because the situation in Venezuela was very complicated. There was a hyperinflation rate, there wasn't food, the shelves at the supermarkets were completely empty, and also we couldn't find medicines. For example, if you get, I don't know, cancer or any of these diseases, it's very difficult to find the medicine, and it's going to be very expensive. So I decided to my wife to move outside Venezuela because we have European citizenships. So we came to Malta in 2014. Since then I have been here. I'm a professional. I got my degree in Venezuela in finance. Here in Malta you have like a strong sector. The economy is quite, the financial sector is quite strong, and I have been working in these sectors since I came to Malta in 2014, yes.
Before I came here, I felt insecure in my country because for young people it was very dangerous just pick up a bus to go to somewhere. So I felt insecure, and then I decided to move to other countries for principal reasons. So when I moved, I felt like I could see the security that can have other countries that your country cannot give you in this moment. So we're fighting for that. We're fighting for a comeback to this democracy and make the democracy recover all that the communism has destroyed in all these 20 years.
The situation in Venezuela is very complicated because, for example, my family had to move as well out because there was a lot of crime. There is no freedom to speak. Basically, if you try to raise your hand or to protest against the government, you might end up in jail because at the moment they control everything. When they came to power in 1998, from that time he was changing all the structure of the state. And we ended up in 2005, I would say, 2002, they control everything. So if you want to go to the street and protest, you might be killed because they have some social, I would say, groups that they support, and they give them money to basically to kill the opposition. That's the reality of our country. Since we have a hyperinflation rate and also the economy is completely destroyed, we are short in food because all the national businessmen who used to run the companies are all closed down. Basically, there is no food since when the government used to have money to import food. It was fine when the oil was in $100 per barrel. Nowadays it's not, and that's why we don't have food, basically because there are no local production. The government doesn't support the national agriculture, and medicines the same. We used to have all these pharmacies locally producing in Venezuela. Nowadays, all of them have moved because there are not the conditions to work on there. If you were working and you put a price, they would say, listen, you have to put this price, and they try to control the price, which is not good for the economy, of course, because there is a free market. And if you don't follow their instructions, they will take power of the company.
In 2013, Nicolas Maduro was elected president when his predecessor, Hugo Chavez, died of cancer at the age of 58. In 2015, the opposition coalition won with a majority of 2/3 in the parliamentary elections, ending 16 years of Socialist Party control. The opposition contested the official victory of President Maduro at the presidential elections in 2018. Juan Guaidó declared himself interim president of Venezuela in 2019 and appealed to oust President Maduro on the grounds that the election was rigged.
They support the guerrilla from Colombia. They have also, they are involved in drug trafficking as well, and there is a lot of corruption. We have an oil company which used to be much better than now in 2000, I don't know, the 90s or in the 80s, which was called PDVSA is the name, PDVSA. Nowadays that company is completely broke up because these people, they didn't invest in the company, and usually what they are doing is using the money of this company to give money or to keep the money in their pockets.
Can you tell me more about the involvement of Cuba, the involvement of Hezbollah, other militant groups? What's the situation in Venezuela right now?
Purtroppo, tanto. Cuba el know-how de come rimanere.
Unfortunately, Cuba forms part of the decision-making in the Maduro regime, and they are partly responsible for the persecution, the torture and arrest of political prisoners, who include military, civilians, women, and youth. In Venezuela, Hezbollah and other militant groups operate freely with the approval of the Maduro regime. They occupy territory that belongs to Venezuelans and finance the Maduro government with illegal trading of, for example, gold and diamonds.
Oro, diamante, risorse.